In today's episode, the Clippers have won 15 in a row, the Red Sox get Joel Hanrahan,
and it's the final week of the NFL regular season.
All that and more, you're watching The Pitch.
We're singing, hey, you can't count us out. We've been running up against the crowd. Yeah, we're the dark horses.
Welcome to The Pitch. As always, I'm your host, John Fox, alongside here with Mitch Sabatelli and Mike Peps-Peroni. Now, first topic of the day. The Clippers have won 15 games in a row. Thoughts on this?
Yeah, and almost beat the Celtics by 30 points. They are on an absolute tear right
Annihilation.
now. Chris Paul is playing on an MVP-type level. You got Blake Griffin back to 2 years ago's form. You know, he's the dunk champion of 2011. Now he's showing up on the court. He's playing offense, defense, getting his rebounds, getting those alley-oops, you know, working the post as well as the defensive floor.
Just the 15-game win streak in general is wicked great.
But I want to say one thing. Jamal Crawford, at 16 points off the bench, is playing like he should be the sixth man of the year this first third of the season way through. You also got Caron Butler there. Matt Barnes, who's the leading point getter against the Celtics last game. He's playing like another great season. Look, this team is pretty solid, and they're much better than they were a season ago. And I think Chris Paul and Blake Griffin are finally finding that Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James type chemistry there as a top duo in this league.
When they got all these guys together for the Clippers and actually started the rebuilding process and getting Barnes, and you have Paul and Blake, who are obviously the top two guys for that team. You got the big man, the classic big man with the alley-oops and the rebounds and the defense, playing offense and everything, and, you know, reliable down low. And then you got Chris Paul, who's just an all-star, future Hall of Fame point guard in general. To have them and then finally bring it all together in a 15-game win streak. You said that's like a little over a fifth of the season that you've won already. That's 15 straight wins. It's just really impressive. I mean, there's so much competition back in that West over there. I mean, everyone's stepping up except really the team that probably should have the best record in the Lakers. But I mean, you gotta give credit to the Clippers. They weren't the team that. They were a team up and coming in the LA. They were looked at as the other LA team for all these years, and finally stepping up and making the Lakers look like the other LA team this year instead of them. Great, very good job.
And also, we haven't even talked about DeAndre Jordan, who's another great center, very underrated center. You know, he'll be their shot blocker from here on forward. And also Eric Bledsoe, another young point guard who can give Chris Paul some much needed minutes off the bench. And also, you got all this depth. Caron Butler, like I mentioned, it's a real deep team this year, and I like their chances.
Me too.
All right, moving on. Avery Johnson fired from Brooklyn. Thoughts on this?
This guy just has had no luck in his coaching career at all. He got absolutely shit on by the Mavericks, and then just the Brooklyn Nets firing him now. I mean, it's just. He has no luck. He even said in the interview, he's like, if it was up to me, I wouldn't have fired myself. But, of course, it's not up to him, so you're fired. But the point is, they lost a big deficit loss to the Celtics on Christmas Day. I mean, just ever since that, they've just been fading in general. They wanted this team to be the glimmer and glam coming into a new city and everything. Jay-Z. And that's not happening right now, so they feel like it's kind of like with the Cowboys thing, kind of like they want them to be that big team, and you know, it's the coach has got to go. They got to just assume it's the coach. I mean, honestly, I kind of disagree with the move. I mean, I feel like you still got to wait it out a little bit, but I mean, it doesn't really matter to me that much. I just think that him getting fired, just you got to find someone else who can do a better job.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with the move as well. But listen, Brooklyn has lost 5 of their last 6 games here. And like Pep said, ever since that Celtics loss, they've been going on downhill even more. I mean, they're only 14-14, but really, I mean, with that team, and like Pep said, they're trying to be that other big market in New York. Yeah. They're trying to be that big team there. And Avery Johnson just isn't the guy that they need. PJ Carlesimo is the interim coach here, but they're also looking at Phil Jackson and possibly come back, as well as Jeff Van Gundy, who I like the move bringing in Van Gundy there too. Another guy who's very vocal and can keep these Deron Williams, keep these Joe Johnson kind of level-headed, and make them reach their goal here, possibly get into the playoffs, get out with the 500 hump, and mesh better as well. Yeah. But you know, like Pep said, with the big market there, I think that's all weighing on Brooklyn. It's weighing on these owners, weighing on these players, and also getting Joe Johnson I mean, you got to expect a little bit more, but also I want to see Brook Lopez step up a little bit. He's kind of the forgotten man. Everyone was thinking about trading him for Dwight Howard. That didn't happen. But now when you think Nets, you think Jaron Williams and Joe Johnson. Brook Lopez is going to be that guy down low, and he used to be their face. It would be nice if he could step up as well.
All right, now moving back to the Clippers before we go on to the next top story. Are they the best team in the game?
Sorry. But I give them excellent credit and props and the effort they put into this season, the 15 wins in a row. But just to me, I mean, personally, not the best team in the game. I mean, they still have a lot to prove. They've been the 4th seed, like last year, the 4th seed.
Who would you say is the best in the game?
Best in the game, I would have to go with. I love Oklahoma City. I mean, even with that, that's still the Heat are technically the best team right now. I mean, if you put it in championship aspect in there, and the top as always, they're always going to be the best until someone knocks them down, pretty much. But I mean, it's going to be OKC, Knicks, and Heat right all up there. I think the Clippers are starting to grow up on them, but I think they need to prove a little bit more and prove that they can do it when the time counts, when playoff time comes. See if they can put up or shut up.
Yeah, if they're not, they're definitely in that territory there. Now, listen, a couple of years ago, if you would have told me that Oklahoma City and the other LA, the Clippers, were the top 2 in the Western Conference, I would have told you were crazy. But San Antonio's kind of falling down a little bit. Everyone knows about the Lakers' problems. So that Western Conference is looking like it's going to be a 1-2 race between the Clippers, OKC. You know, teams like San Antonio could get back up there. Another young team there. Memphis is real good. Maybe they have a chance. But I think it's going to come down to one of those two. And I think this is going to be a big race, but I got to give the edge, at least in the Western Conference, to OKC because of experience now. And I like the addition with Kevin Martin. Everyone's saying how losing James Harden is going to really hurt them.
Big score.
And he's been really good this year. And definitely going to be an all-star type player for the Rockets. But Kevin Martin has filled it nicely. He's not going to over-flash you like James Harden used to did, but he's very solid. And he'll put up 15 points a night. Very quietly, he has that weird delivery, but it's working. It's very efficient.
Shooter.
Very good. And it's really working for Oklahoma City. And I think that gel between Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant's finally coming to chemistry.
Durant needs the ball more than
you saw that
Westbrook.
last game. Russell Westbrook had a huge steal, and I saw Kevin Durant come over right to Russell Westbrook. It looks like that chemistry, that bond is finally there. And I will still take Westbrook and Durant over Griffin and Paul right now because of experience. So I'll go with them.
Experience and the fact that they almost won the NBA championship.
And that's what I've been mentioning with the East. I still say that Miami's the best team in the game.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to our final top story of the day. The Red Sox traded for Joel Hanrahan. Thoughts on this?
Yeah, and the Red Sox gave up not too much here for another dominant closer, one of the best closers in the last 2 years here. He was actually putting up Cy Young type numbers 2 years ago, and again had another nice year this year. And he's playing with the Pirates, so yeah, exactly.
36 saves.
He's very efficient there, and when he gets to save it.
Good.
Strikeouts per 9 is also very good too, and that's what Ben Sheridan's been looking here when he's getting a lot of these relievers. Koji Uehara, he still has got Andrew Bailey there, and now he can move Aceves. So all of a sudden that bullpen's looking real good. And they only traded Jerry Sands and also Stormy Pimento, 2 B-level prospects from that team. Get him out of there, get a dominant closer, and everyone's saying how you got to build that starting rotation. But I mean, if you have real good from 6 to 9 innings locked up, you just got to have a solid couple innings there from Dempster and Lester. You get right there to the dominant bullpen, you have a shave.
Yeah, I think it's a really good pickup. I mean, it's like a totally different revelation for the Red Sox general management and in just a general area of pickups. Last year, you go from all these big signings of these big hitters and all-star players to all these mid-level guys who we can put together a team and bring an all-star team in general to the AL East back again. But I think that's a big pickup. They need to keep going for that pitching. They need a couple more in the pitching rotation to keep it up.
Would you keep Bailey as the closer?
I keep Bailey as a setup.
You gotta have him as
a setup.
I think he's a little bit more versatile too, right?
Yeah.
Do you think
he's very
versatile before then?
I think they're gonna keep him.
They should keep him as a setup guy.
But
they should put Hanrahan and obviously close.
I kind of like the Red Sox moves here. They haven't made that big dramatic, that Josh Hamilton type signing, Zach Greinke, but
they're
starting at the top,
getting it done, and that's the way they want to be. They don't want to be that team that has all these big guys and has to produce, compared to the team that's laying low and waiting to strike when necessary.
They're still working on that Mike Napoli thing, but if they get him done, you got Shane Victorino, Johnny Gomes, Stephen Drew. You got Koji Uehara as well as Joel Hanrahan, Dempster as well. And then now they're looking at Adam LaRoche, and they're in talks for this guy.
I like him. I like to get him on the team.
And not only if they get to Napoli, but also still Adam LaRoche, even if they do end up signing Napoli, which is this hip issue. But it is good insurance that if they don't sign Napoli, they can go get LaRoche for first base. So I really like what Sherrington's doing, and quietly he's building a contender here.
Yeah, finally.
All right, moving on to the NFL. We're at the final week here. But first, Sean Payton agrees to a 5-year extension with New Orleans. Now, is that the right move?
Yeah, they're under 500, and I think everyone's saying how coaching could possibly be overrated. I think this is the first year where you absolutely see that you need this dominant coach. Sean Payton was making this team 13-3, you know, two lost seasons. And everyone knows about Drew Brees, but it's really been Drew Brees and Sean Payton, kind of like the Tom Brady, Belichick of that NFC, and they've been dominant forces the last couple of years. So you see with this year, now they're under 500. Everyone knows Brees is still that elite quarterback, but you still need that guy calling the shots, and that's been Sean Payton, one of the most underrated coaches. And I think it's not like a Michael Vick situation where there was so much adversity against that team where you had to ship him out, you had to get Matt Ryan. I mean, I think this team has had another year under its belt that people are going to let Sean Payton be for a little bit. I think it's the right move.
I think it is, too. I think all the stuff that's happened to the organization and its fans as a whole, completely just depleting a team, cutting them right in half pretty much with all the bullshit that's happened. I think it's a good move for the Saints. I mean, I think the fans need something to look forward to.
Sure.
They need something to look on to the future, to know that they have Sean Payton for 5 more years, know that the guy who's given them a Super Bowl back in 2009 can do it again for them. And I just think it's a good move for them, and it's a start in the right direction to come back from all the stuff that's happened within the last year for that team and the franchise and organization. So it's a good move.
All right. NFL, the final week of regular season games. Yep. We will start in the AFC. The 10-5 Ravens will be at the 9-6 Bengals. Who's going to win it?
Yeah, and this isn't a game for playoffs here. The AFC is already settled with the 1 through 6. However, this could affect seeding. I am going to go with the Bengals here. I like the Bengals, and they had a big win.
As well as I.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bengals here just because I think it's at home, and I think the Bengals have this momentum riding into the playoffs. I think the Ravens are going to try to rest their players, maybe give Ray Lewis a little time off here, get everybody ready for the playoffs. I don't think you're going to see those deep threats. I think you're going to just be steady. The Ravens are just going to be steady, make sure that they're all intact for the playoffs. I think the Bengals still have something to prove. They want to make sure that they're an elite team going into the playoffs, make everybody... since they are a young team,
Andy
and possibly
Dalton
get all
has
the momentum
everything
going in
to
there.
prove.
I completely agree with you. The thing is, with this game, it has nothing to do with the division. The Ravens have already locked that up.
Seeding.
All 4 divisions are locked up, but yeah, it could have to do with the seeding, with the Bengals and the Colts. Bengals really would love to have this win. Momentum, especially if they have to play, possibly play the Ravens general the next week, like we were talking about earlier. But, I mean, it's just a big game for them, and I think, like you said, they have the momentum, and I think they'll pull it out. The Ravens are on the road. It's going to be tough. And it's almost like a playoff atmosphere, and I think the Bengals can pull it out. So, I'll go with the Bengals, too.
All right. Bengals, too. All right. All in favor of the Bengals. Moving on. The 12-3 Texans. This is a good one. At the 10-5 Colts. Who's going to take it?
The thing is, this is a good one, but it's semi-meaningless in a way. The Texans do need the win. They need the win to keep the seeding, because the Broncos pretty much have a for sure thing against Kansas City. I don't see them losing to them, and I see the Patriots. We could have a struggle with Miami to try to bust our balls a little bit, but I see us beating Miami too. Right. So if the Texans lose and the Pats and Broncos win, Texans fall down to the 3rd seed.
Out of the 3 games, it's the only one.
This is a pretty big win for the Texans if they can pull it off. But honestly, I don't believe that they will. I think they're going to go into Indy, and Indy's going to get the revenge that they wanted. I think the Colts are going to win this one at home and make a statement win to show that we can beat this rivalry. We can win this game, this rivalry against the divisional opponent.
I agree with you on that.
And I think the Colts are going to win. I think I do not.
I'm still showing people nothing.
I think the Texans deserve to fall down to the. I think it deserves to be Payton and Tom Brady.
I'm just saying, and when you lock down, and when Schaub's showing you nothing, and when you lock down Arian Foster and their great, other running backs, I mean, what is there? What is there?
Right.
The thing is, you just gotta hope that the Colts know that possibly the Colts can't move up at this point. So you gotta think that they could rest them, but I think that they can beat the Texans. I think they can. They're at home. I think that's going to be the difference between them winning and losing this game. I think they'll win the game. I understand the Texans may have a little more to play for, even though the Colts do want that momentum going into the playoffs, riding it against a team like the Ravens who are struggling lately. And grant they did win, but they are struggling anyways in general in this regular season to come in. If they lose that game to the Bengals and the Colts realize that and they're like, oh, we got to go out and win this game. They win this game momentum. I think they can top off the Ravens next week. But I just think that I think the Colts are going to win this one. I think it's for momentum, and with the rookie quarterback, you need to keep him playing as much as he can.
All right, and I actually am going to go with the shocker as well. I'm going to agree with both Peps and Fox here.
Oh.
I think the thing is, the Texans, we've been talking a lot about their injuries in the past. I think finally they're a sure thing in that offense. You know, you got that big three of Shaw, Barry Foster, and Avery Johnson, as well as Owen Daniels, Kevin Walter. Everybody's finally intact. That offensive line's all intact. Also, J.J. Watt, that whole defense. There's not too many injuries. So I want to make sure that Houston's going to be completely healthy going into the playoffs. Because everyone knows that if they did have Matt Shaw, they could have actually won the Super Bowl last year. But the one thing that everyone's been saying about the weakness of the Texans is that secondary, that Houston Texans secondary. I think Andrew Luck's going to have a huge game here. I think he's going to want to show everybody that he is the quarterback, the best of the big three there. That he's going to go in there and the big lights on him. I think he's going to show up.
It's good to run a rookie. It's good to run a rookie through the whole course. I wouldn't sit him week 16. He needs the experience. So. Well, in general, I mean, I wouldn't even sit him after the half. I'd just play him through.
But I think he's going to. Andrew Luck's going to take this as a big playoff game. He knows that this is a big game. This is probably the
statement.
Big favorite there in the AFC with the Texans right there.
I don't know about that.
Well, you know, earlier in the season there definitely was. You know, now you got the
Patriots there. Definitely earlier.
But Andrew Luck, I think he's going to be able to tear apart the secondary, and he's going to show everybody that he is the quarterback that everyone thinks he is in the future here. And I think it's going to be a big game for Andrew Luck.
All right, moving on to the NFC now. The 4-11 Eagles are at the 8-7 Giants. Now, obviously, nothing for the Eagles. Big win for the Giants, obviously.
Peps, why don't you break down the NFL scenario?
When it comes to the NFC East, with the Giants, the Redskins, the Eagles, and the Cowboys, the Eagles are obviously out. But the Giants and the Cowboys and the Redskins all have to win, pretty much. But the Giants and the Cowboys have to win. The Cowboys cannot get the wild card. They can only win the division. If they lose, they stay at 8-8, and they're out of the playoffs. If the Giants win, they are not guaranteed a spot. They need the Bears to lose to the Lions. They need the Vikings to lose to the Packers. And they need the Redskins to beat the Cowboys so they can come over and take over that 6th wild card spot. If none of that happens and the Giants win, it's meaningless.
As a Patriots fan, that's huge.
It's huge. And also, when it comes down to that, I think even if the Redskins even if they lose this Cowboys game, they still have a chance at the wild card. They would need the Bears and the Vikings to both lose, and they could take the wild card. But pretty much the Cowboys have no room for error, and the Giants have no room for error, and the Bears have no room for error too, and the Vikings and Redskins, Cowboys all have it in their own hands. If they win, they will be in pretty much.
All right, so Eagles, Giants, who do you like here?
I think the Eagles are going to beat the Giants. I think they're going to do it, especially if Mike Vick comes back. Giants are on downward swing. They're even saying things in the locker room. Mostly's saying, we're looking forward to next year. You know what? If you don't care, get the hell off the football field. The Eagles are going to beat the Giants, and the Giants are going to end up at 8-8, and they don't even deserve to have a chance to make these playoffs. The way that team's been talking about next year. Just look forward to next year and don't even play Sunday.
It hasn't been the vintage December Eli Manning we've been seeing here. I think just because they're playing the Eagles, I like what Pep said. Michael Vick could possibly start here with Nick Foles' injury. You know, Michael Vick has a lot to prove here, and so does Andy Reid. Michael Vick is going to be looking for another job next year, in my opinion, because you got Nick Foles, you got other guys, maybe Mark Sanchez to Philadelphia. So there's going to be a lot of takers there for Michael Vick. I think he's going to want to showcase that he's still got something left in the tank. So I think he's going to do what he can, but I think Eli needs this win to even give him a chance. And I think finally he's going to make that play. I've been saying that the last couple of weeks.
Last 3 weeks.
Last 3 weeks. But I think he's going to win this game.
4th week's not going to change it.
So you think he's going to lose the Eagles?
All right, so
What do you like for a score that game?
I think the Eagles, I would have to
I think it's going to be closer than you think.
17-14.
Closer than you think.
I'm going to say that the Eagles have a good first half. I think it's going to be a rout in the second half. I'm going to say it's 31-14 Giants.
I just think they haven't stepped up to this point and they've been known to win streaks at the end of the season. I just don't see it happening because they've been losing games, very important games.
Well, they usually
you don't
get in
deserve
there,
to be in the playoffs if you can't win important
They usually
games.
get it in there at 9-7. So if this win gets them, they'll be
They're
there at
not going
9-7.
to get there.
All right, we'll see.
No way.
I mean,
They got a lot to happen here.
They need.
I believe
Vikings,
Eli's going to get it
Bears,
done,
and
and
Cowboys
then they're just going to have to.
Well, let's talk about one of those games here.
It's just fate. They're just going to have to wait on fate after they either. Well, after they win it, when they,
Yeah.
if they do.
Let's go to this.
All right, next one. Bears at Lions. The Bears 9-6, Lions 4-11. Who takes
Remember,
this one?
it seems like so long ago how we were saying the Chicago had the best defense and they possibly could have been a Super Bowl contender.
Not me.
I even said that, but then the Jay Cutler injury happened and that really changed the whole thing there. Now they're starting to get the momentum again, but I think it might be a little too late. I do like them to beat the Lions here, even at Detroit. Detroit's had a horrible season, with the exception of Calvin Johnson with the record-breaking season, which is huge for them. Matthew Stafford's had a bad season. But I think that Chicago, I think that defense is going to step up right here in this game. I think you're going to see a big play by either Charles Tillman or Lance Briggs to get that defense back to what they were in the beginning of the season. I think Jay Cutler might be able to step up. I think just because of the overpowering mismatch between Chicago and Detroit, that Chicago's going to go into Detroit and win this one.
The pressure is on for Jay Cutler and the Bears. The defense will step up. Jay Cutler usually hasn't been stepped up in the past.
You're taking the Chicago
Especially for my taste. I think the Lions have had so many heartbreakers, so many horrible losses at the end of this regular season for them. They need to give something, at least anything, back to these fans at Ford Field here on Sunday. I believe that they're going to come in there at Ford Field and get pumped up. Johnson broke the record. Fans are pumped. They have something to play for. They have something to play for, and that is to knock out the dwindling, pathetic excuse of a Chicago Bears football team, and the Lions are going to beat them in Ford Field in Detroit on Sunday and knock out their dreams and hopes of getting to the playoffs and a wild card team.
Oh, want to bet? I'm as well going to go with the Lions. I think Matt Stafford's going to be balling.
I think Johnson's going to break the 2,000
I think
yards.
he's just going to be. It's just going to be a repeat of last season's final game. Matt Stafford just
I
throwing
hear with the
500 plus yards. He's just going to try to give the
fans need something.
He's just going to try to give the fans anything that he can to keep them.
It's kind of like the Eagles. Granted, the Eagles is more of a long shot for me, but I think the Lions can beat the Bears. I fully believe that. I straightly pick Eagles-Giants because I hate the Giants, and I think they'd choke.
This is a great segue here because I actually think the Bears are going to get into the playoffs after all these last second half woes here. It's a good segue to our next game right now.
All right, next game. 11-4 Packers at the 9-6
Telling you right now,
Adrian
AP.
AP is gonna break.
They win this game,
record.
MVP.
The Packers are gonna go
Solidified 100% MVP.
Wait, he only got 85 yards last week. So
he's going to get 222 yards this game.
Do I see a bet here? Do I see a bet on the table?
I will say Adrian Peterson will win.
Packers at Vikings. And the Vikings are going to win, and they're going to clinch that spot because it is in their hands. All in their hands. The Packers have the bye to play for, but I believe the Packers are not going to step up, and the Vikings will at home, at the fans behind you and everything. You only need a win. You don't need anything else pending. You need a win, and you're in. Vikings win, and they're in. Bears need to win, and they need the Vikings to lose. Vikings just need to win, and they're in, and they're going to do that on Sunday.
It's going to be a very quiet 12-4 here. Everyone was saying how early in the season with all those injuries, Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson, they haven't been completely healthy. I think finally they're back to that health there, and Aaron Rodgers is all of a sudden back into the MVP discussion, and nobody really thinks that they're actually 11-4. Everyone's saying that. If you look at the Packers, what everyone's been saying about them, you think, oh yeah, all right, they're in the playoffs. Maybe they have 5-6 losses. They only have 4 losses, and all of a sudden they're right there at the top of the NFC. I think Aaron Rodgers is back into the MVP race. I think he's going to put the nail in the coffin for the Vikings season here. It was a great run, but losing Percy Harvin really hurt. I'm going to say that Adrian Peterson, not only the record comes short, but also their season comes short. Aaron Rodgers is going to have a field day.
He's going to give him a good run for this game, though. He's gonna get
AP is going to rip
the
the Packers to shreds like holes in Swiss cheese.
I think they're going to come out just guns out.
Last week.
Vikings start out great, but then they're going to fall to the eventual
They're
Aaron
going to turn
Rodgers
that Wisconsin cheddar
taking
into
it back.
Swiss.
It is at
Right
Vikings,
through
so I
holes.
like that. And I think a lot
I
of
think the
fans,
Packers are just going to
the fans are
outlast
gonna
the
be
Vikings.
The fans are going to
I
be
think
over
that's
there
what
trying to
it's
get
gonna
AP
be.
to get that
I think the
record.
Vikings are going to come out right from the gates, going to score
Right the
you know,
gates.
very quick. But then I don't think they're going to. I mean, I don't see it. I
gonna
mean,
win.
Christian Ponder. I don't
I didn't see it. We didn't see it last week. We didn't see it last week
Yeah,
either.
true. But
We didn't
I mean,
see it last
AP
week either, but they beat the Texans. They can beat the Packers if they can beat the Texans.
I mean, I think that duo of Percy Harvin and Adrian Peterson,
And
at
they're
least in
home.
the future, is
They were
huge.
on the road last week.
Against the Packers in December, I really like Aaron Rodgers here. I think it's going to be a little bit momentum kicker for the Green Bay Packers headed into the playoffs. Possibly show that the Packers could still be another Super Bowl run here. For
I think
Aaron
Ponder's
Rodgers.
going to throw some picks. I think.
I think he might throw some picks. Yeah.
Vikings got it.
Here's the big game right now.
All right, game of the week. You know it. Cowboys 9-6. 8-7 at the 9-6 Redskins.
Well, on Thanksgiving,
Who's taking it?
on Thanksgiving, Redskins beat the Cowboys because of RG3. And I think that was the big game for Tony Romo. And since then, Tony Romo has been huge for the Cowboys, both statistically-wise and the win column-wise. Now, listen, I've been on the Cowboys bandwagon. Des Bryant had a huge second half. But I think Tony Romo, when he needs a win, you know he craps his pants. I'm going to go with
shit the bed.
I'm going to go with Robert Griffin III.
All day.
Come back from this injury. I think he's going to have a huge game. This story is going to continue with these three elite rookie quarterbacks all going into the playoffs.
The dominance.
I think it's huge
The
for the
dominance.
Redskins
Tony
to not
Romo
only knock
does
out
not
Mike Vick,
have
but also
dominance.
Tony Romo and win the NFC East for Robert Griffin III.
The picks you see Tony Romo throw outdo
I
the great
completely-
passing, the great.
Agree.
God.
I completely agree with this. I mean, as much as I would love to just go
It's
against
at
you
Redskins,
because it's
everything.
you,
Yep.
I hate Tony Romo. I've talked about his anal seepage. I've talked about tearing him like 10 assholes.
You know what?
I believe the Redskins are just going to rip him 1,000 assholes. It's just going to come pouring out of him. There's no way they're going to win this
You
game.
picked against the Cowboys this whole second half.
I hate
picked
the Cowboys.
For them, if
I
they
hate
won
them.
most every single
Cowboys
game
and Bears,
since Thanksgiving, but
overrated
they're gonna lose to the
quarterbacks,
Redskins.
overrated franchises.
Well,
Cowboys and Bears.
obviously, Jay Cutler.
Jay Cutler, way overrated.
You know who's going to have a huge game? Another
Tony
underrated rookie.
Romo.
Hey,
Tony Romo tries his best. He does really good. But then he just
He
shits the
doesn't
bed.
step up.
What do you?
I'm gonna
what
say
do you
one
mean?
more
But-
thing.
no, I'm saying he does try his best.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like
When
I
it
thought you were
comes,
mine.
I want to say one more thing. With this NFC West, don't sleep
NFC
on the Seattle
Oh.
Seahawks because
Oh.
this team right now, I want to say this.
Who picked Seattle to beat 49ers last week? Didn't we both?
We both
You
did.
did. I picked.
They didn't
I
just
needed
beat them.
Seattle.
They
I
didn't
needed.
just beat
I
them.
needed Seattle to show me that. I needed
yeah.
Seattle
I'm
to
telling you
show me
right
that.
now,
They
not
showed
only-
me it. I mean,
Not only the NFC,
For the
they are
Super Bowl-
Super Bowl contenders.
for the
right
Super
now.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. That's
I will
my
say-
sleeper
I
team
will
for a
say-
Super Bowl chance.
I will
Seattle
say
Seahawks.
Patriots.
I will agree.
Patriots, Seahawks, or Niners. That's
The 49ers are
Almost
the
too
49ers are gonna shit in the playoffs.
I don't even know.
49ers
I
are
don't know
gonna
about that. I
suck.
wouldn't say shit.
They're gonna shit in the playoffs. I think they're gonna just lose in the first
With
round.
9 Pro Bowl defenders going
I
in
don't
there?
care. Your offense is way inconsistent
They
lately.
just beat the Patriots.
They're 10-4-1. They just lost.
10-4-1.
They just lost. They just got smacked by a divisional
Yeah,
rival.
at Westfield, which is literally the hardest place to play
Exactly.
in sports. They're
and
called
they're
another player
gonna
because
lose
of
when
that
the
fan
playoffs
base.
come. They're gonna lose.
But I mean, if 49ers win here, they're going to be at home facing the Seattle Seahawks, so they're going to win.
They're gonna lose to the Seattle Seahawks at home.
All right. I think if Seattle, when they win at home, they're absolutely
If
dominant.
Seattle
when
wins,
they go away, they're a different team.
Let's say that this is the last part of the breakdown thing. If Seattle wins, San Fran loses, Seattle takes the division.
The real question is, on a neutral field, who's a better team, Seahawks or
Doesn't matter. The
49ers?
Seahawks are going to win. The 49ers are going to lose. Seahawks are going to take the division. Then we'll vice versa for you and see who gets their shit pushed in the playoffs.
Russell Wilson's better than Colin Kaepernick, but that 49er defense is better than that Seattle defense.
Seahawks
The
underrated.
fan base,
Better.
much better than Candlestick and 49ers. Quest Field's the hardest place to play in sports. That's why it makes Seattle Seahawks a Super Bowl contender, in my opinion.
All right,
Because
so would you say Patriots? Would you say for the AFC? Do you think they're going to get to the Super Bowl?
I picked at the beginning of the season, I said Patriots Falcons. I'm going to stick with that.
You're going to stick with Patriots, Falcons?
Patriots Falcons.
Wow.
But I think I like what you're saying with the Seahawks being a dark horse.
They're a
I
dark
get
horse.
major problems.
I don't see San Fran getting there. That's the one team
With that
that's in
game-
the top 4 that I do not think has a good chance.
With
of
that,
it.
I want to say this. With that game, Russell Wilson has eclipsed both Andrew Luck and Robert Griffin III because of injury as the Rookie of the Year. And that's a big, big statement because
That's
he's
huge.
not huge.
He deserves it just as much as the other two.
Do you think Wilson's the Rookie of the Year?
He could be.
But-
I think they're gonna. I personally believe they're gonna give it to Luck because of all the stuff and all the expectations and how they're supposed to be,
And the Chuck
and how
Pagano
they're
thing.
supposed to be 5-10, not 10-5.
I think the
That's a
Chuck
big thing for
Pagano
them,
thing was
too.
another huge
That's
story. I think
another-
that might not
It's
be
a
good.
big story. It's like the Peyton Man. It's a big story. It's all big story.
I will
stuff.
put, because of the stats and because of the injury, I think Robert Griffin goes down a little bit.
Robert Griffin's not
But
gonna win it.
This is going to be a win because of the other rookie, Alfred Morris. I think he's going to have a huge game against
Over
Tony
1,000
Romo.
yards, right?
He's huge.
Unbelievable.
And Robert Griffin also said he would give him the Rookie of the Year. But that duo of Robert Griffin and Alfred Morris
Deadly
is
in
gonna
the
put
future.
Nail in the coffin for
Oh,
the
yeah.
Cowboys.
All right, well, if any of you has
I got
anything,
no more points.
no more points
That's
to make. All right, well, that pretty much sums it up, wraps it up for this week's episode of The Pitch. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. You know the deal. See you next week, guys.